Life is a game, but most of you are playing it wrong. You fight yourself. You sabotage your own moves. You make the same losing plays over and over, wondering why the board never changes in your favor. And here's the truth that cuts deepest. You never learned the rules. What if I told you there was a woman, nearly a century ago, who understood this game so completely that her words still transform lives today? What if every failure, every heartbreak, every door that slammed shut was simply because you weren't following the fundamental laws she discovered? What if you've been playing chess while everyone else knew it was actually checkers? My friend, you've stumbled upon something ancient, something that bridges the mystical and the practical, something that works whether you believe in it or not. The woman's name was Florence Scovel Shinn, and she wrote the instruction manual for the game of life itself. Today, I'm going to teach you how to stop losing. But first, let me ask you something. Right now, as you listen to these words, what game are you playing? Are you the person who takes action toward your dreams, or the one who finds reasons why they won't work? Are you speaking words that build your future, or words that tear it down? Because here's what Florence understood. You are both players in this game. The one who wins and the one who loses. The one who believes and the one who doubts. You versus you. And until you understand which voice is really in control, you'll keep making moves that work against your own interests. Florence Scovel Shinn lived from 1871 to 1940, and she discovered something that most people spend their entire lives missing: the connection between what you say, what you think, and what appears in your life. She wasn't some mystical guru sitting on a mountaintop. She was a practical woman living in New York City, watching people struggle with the same problems you face today: money troubles, relationship heartbreak, health concerns, dreams that seemed impossible. But Florence noticed patterns. She saw that certain people, regardless of their circumstances, seemed to navigate life with an almost magical ease. They spoke differently. They fought differently. They approached problems differently. And so she began to study what she called the laws of life, the hidden rules governing how our inner world creates our outer experience. Her book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, became the foundation for what we now call the New Thought movement. Emmett Fox built upon her work. Louise Hay expanded it. Eventually, these ideas filtered into books like The Secret. But here's what most people miss. Florence wasn't teaching wishful thinking. She was teaching practical metaphysics, real-world applications of spiritual principles. She understood that life operates by certain laws, just like physics or mathematics. And if you learn these laws, you can work with them instead of against them. The tragedy is that most people go through life breaking these laws without even knowing they exist. They speak defeat while hoping for victory. They imagine worst-case scenarios while praying for best-case outcomes. They take fearful actions while expecting confident results. It's like trying to drive a car without understanding that the steering wheel controls direction. You might eventually reach your destination, but you'll crash into a lot of walls along the way. Florence studied the people who seemed to have mastered this invisible steering wheel, and what she found changed everything. Now listen carefully. I'm about to share with you the fundamental rules Florence discovered. These aren't theories or philosophies. These are operating instructions for human consciousness itself. Rule 1. Your words shape reality. Florence observed something remarkable. The people who consistently experienced positive outcomes spoke about their lives differently than everyone else. Not just positive thinking. That's surface level. She noticed they used their words as tools of creation rather than mere description. Instead of saying, "I can't afford this," they would say, "I am open to unexpected abundance." Instead of, "I always get sick in winter," they would say, "I maintain perfect health in all seasons." Florence called this the power of the spoken word. She understood that our words aren't just communication, they're commands to the creative forces of life. Think about it. Every building, every invention, every relationship began as words. Someone spoke an idea into existence before it became physical reality. But here's where most people go wrong. They use their words to reinforce what they don't want, instead of creating what they do want. I'm so broke. I never meet anyone good. Nothing ever works out for me. Each statement is an instruction to the universe to continue delivering more of the same. Florence taught her students to speak as if their desired outcome was already assured, not as denial of current circumstances, but as alignment with their intended destination. One of her most powerful affirmations was, "I give thanks that this situation is cleared up quickly and in divine order." Notice the structure: gratitude in advance, certainty of resolution, surrender to higher wisdom. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's about using your words to direct the creative force within you towards solutions rather than dwelling in the problem space. Rule 2. Imagination is the board. Florence discovered that imagination isn't just daydreaming. It's the actual playing field where the game of life unfolds. She noticed that people's external circumstances consistently matched their internal mental images. Those who regularly imagined scenarios of lack and struggle experienced lack and struggle. Those who imagined abundance and ease experienced abundance and ease. But here's the crucial distinction. Most people let their imagination run wild without direction. They imagine worst-case scenarios, rehearse failures, picture themselves being rejected or disappointed. They're actively using their imagination to create what they don't want. Florence taught her students to take conscious control of their mental images. She called this correct imaging. Instead of imagining the job interview going badly, imagine it going perfectly. Instead of picturing your health declining, picture yourself vital and strong. Instead of rehearsing relationship conflicts, imagine harmony and understanding. She would say, "Every man is building the exact life his imagination demands. The key is consistency. Your imagination is like a garden. Whatever seeds you plant consistently will grow. Plant images of success, and success will manifest. Plant images of failure, and failure will manifest. But you have to tend this garden daily. You can't imagine abundance once, and then spend the rest of the week imagining poverty and expect abundance to grow." Rule 3. Faith is the strategy. Now, when Florence spoke about faith, she wasn't talking about religious dogma. She was talking about a specific mental state, the quiet confidence that what you've spoken and imagined will come to pass. She observed that people who achieved their goals had one thing in common. They acted as if success was inevitable, even when external evidence suggested otherwise. This isn't blind optimism, it's strategic conviction. Think of faith as playing the game with complete trust in your own moves. When a chess master makes a move, they don't constantly second-guess themselves. They commit to the move and let it play out. Most people sabotage themselves by speaking their desire, imagining their outcome, and then immediately undermining both with doubt. "I hope this works out, but it probably won't. I'm trying to think positive, but I'm just not lucky. I want to believe, but what if I'm wrong?" Florence taught that doubt is the only real enemy in this game, not external circumstances, not other people, not even current reality. Doubt. She would say, doubt is faith inverted. When you doubt, you're having faith in the wrong outcome. You're believing with complete conviction that things will work out. That's still faith, just pointed in the wrong direction. The strategy is to redirect that faith toward your desired outcome. Have complete confidence in failure, or have complete confidence in success. The mechanism is the same. Rule 4. Action is the move. Here's where Florence separated herself from pure mysticism. She understood that spiritual principles must be married to practical action. You can speak correctly, imagine clearly, and have unshakable faith, but at some point, you must move your feet. But, and this is crucial, the action doesn't have to be massive or dramatic. It just has to be aligned. If you're speaking abundance, but hoarding every penny in fear, your actions contradict your words. If you're imagining a loving relationship, but pushing people away, your behavior contradicts your vision. Florence taught inspired action, taking steps that feel aligned with your desired outcome, even when the logical mind can't see the full path. Sometimes this means applying for the job that seems out of reach. Sometimes it means having the difficult conversation. Sometimes it means investing in yourself when money is tight. The key is listening for the inner prompting and then acting on it, even when, especially when, it doesn't make logical sense. She would often say, the game of life is the game of boomerangs. Our thoughts, deeds, and words return to us sooner or later with astounding accuracy. This means your actions must match your intentions. You can't plant corn and expect wheat. You can't act from fear and expect courageous results. Rule 5. Surrender under grace. The final rule is perhaps the most challenging for our control-obsessed minds. After you've spoken your word, imagined your outcome, moved in faith, and taken aligned action, you must let go. Florence called this surrendering under grace. She understood that there's a creative intelligence at work in the universe that's far more sophisticated than our individual planning minds. This doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming receptive. You've made your moves. Now allow the game to respond. Allow solutions to emerge from unexpected directions. Allow timing to unfold according to a wisdom greater than your own impatience. Most people sabotage themselves at this stage by trying to micromanage the outcome. They specify not just what they want, but exactly how it must arrive, when it must arrive, and through whom it must arrive. Florence taught her students to be specific about the what, but flexible about the how. One of her most famous affirmations captures this perfectly. I call on the law of divine selection. I give thanks that only that which is mine by divine right now comes to me, in perfect order, in perfect timing. This is surrender with intelligence. You're not giving up on your desires. You're surrendering your limited ideas about how those desires must be fulfilled. Sometimes the universe has a better plan than yours. Sometimes the timing you're demanding would actually work against you. Sometimes the path you're insisting on would lead to a lesser outcome than the path you're resisting. Surrender under grace means trusting that if you followed the first 4 rules correctly, the outcome will manifest in the way that serves your highest good. Now, let me give you something practical. Something you can begin using immediately. Here's your 5-minute daily practice. I want you to do this every morning before you check your phone, before you dive into the chaos of the day. Minute 1. Center yourself. Sit quietly and take 3 deep breaths. Feel your feet on the ground. Remember that you are the player in this game, not the victim of circumstances. Minute 2. Speak your word. Choose one area of your life that needs transformation. Speak an affirmation about it as if the outcome is already assured. Use Florence's structure. I give thanks that, followed by your desired outcome, is now manifesting in perfect order and divine timing. Minute 3. Imagine the outcome. Close your eyes and create a clear mental picture of your life with this desire fulfilled. See yourself living it, feeling it, experiencing it. Make it vivid and real. Minute 4. Feel the faith. Allow yourself to feel the quiet confidence that this outcome is inevitable. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're aligning with natural law. Minute 5. Commit to action. Ask yourself, what one small action can I take today that aligns with this outcome? Then commit to taking that action before sunset. That's it. 5 minutes. But here's the key. Consistency. Do this for 30 days straight, and you'll begin to see why Florence's students experienced such dramatic transformations. For your evening practice, simply reflect on the day and express gratitude for any evidence, however small, that your desired outcome is beginning to manifest. And here's a challenge for those of you who are serious about mastering this game. Comment below under grace. In perfect ways, day 130, and commit to checking in with your progress each week. Let this community witness your transformation. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You've tried positive thinking before. You've tried affirmations. You've tried visualization, and life still knocked you down. Let me address the most common situations where people think these principles don't work. I gave love and it wasn't returned. Florence would say, you misunderstood the game. The rule isn't love others and they must love you back. The rule is love generates love. Sometimes that love returns through the same person, sometimes through different people, sometimes in unexpected forms. But when you give love with the demand for specific return, you're not really giving love. You're making a transaction. And the universe doesn't respond to transactions the way it responds to authentic giving. The correct affirmation isn't, this person must love me back. It's, I am surrounded by love and appreciation in all forms. I was cheated or betrayed. Here's where Florence's teachings require mature understanding. These principles aren't about becoming a doormat. They're about taking responsibility for your own experience while maintaining healthy boundaries. If someone cheats you, the spiritual response isn't to affirm that cheating is wonderful. It's to affirm your own wisdom, protection, and ability to attract honest relationships. I am guided to right action. I attract only honest and honorable people into my life. I trust my intuition and set clear boundaries. Taking spiritual responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for others' choices. It means focusing on what you can control. Your response, your boundaries, your future choices. Nothing seems to change despite consistent practice. This is usually a timing issue, a belief issue, or a specificity issue. Timing. Sometimes the universe is orchestrating circumstances you can't see. The delay isn't denial, it's preparation. Belief. Check if you're affirming one thing while believing another. I'm practicing abundance while constantly worrying about money sends mixed signals. Specificity. I want to be happy is too vague. I want to feel energized, appreciated, and purposeful in my daily life gives the universe something concrete to work with. Florence often reminded her students, delay is not denial unless you accept it as such. Let me share 3 stories that illustrate these principles in action. These represent the kinds of testimonies I've received from people who've applied Florence's teachings. The unexpected check. Sarah, a single mother facing eviction, began affirming each morning, my rent is paid in full and I have a surplus for the month ahead. I give thanks for unexpected abundance from expected and unexpected sources. She had no idea how this could happen. Her salary barely covered expenses and she'd exhausted her savings. But she maintained the practice. She spoke the words, imagined her bank account with sufficient funds, and acted as if the money was coming. She even cleaned her apartment as if she wasn't moving. On day 12 of her practice, her ex-husband called. He'd received an unexpected bonus at work and felt prompted to send extra child support, exactly the amount needed for rent plus $300 extra. Coincidence? Perhaps. But Florence would say, there are no coincidences, only divine appointments. The right job at the right time. Michael had been unemployed for 8 months. His affirmation became, "I am guided to the perfect position where my skills are valued and my contributions make a difference. This job finds me as easily as I find it." Instead of desperately applying everywhere, he began applying only to positions that genuinely excited him. He imagined himself thriving in meaningful work. He acted as if the right opportunity was actively seeking him. 3 weeks later, a former colleague reached out about a position that hadn't been posted yet. It was exactly what Michael had been visualizing: better title, better pay, better company culture than anything he'd found through traditional searching. The hiring manager later told him, "We weren't even sure we needed this position until we met you. You made us realize what we were missing." The inner strength to change. Jennifer struggled with alcohol dependency. Traditional willpower had failed her repeatedly, but she began applying Florence's principles to her recovery. "I am free from the need to escape my life. I find joy and peace in clear-minded presence. My body craves only what serves my highest good." She imagined herself confident in social situations without alcohol. She pictured her mornings clear-headed and energetic. She acted as if sobriety was her natural state, not a constant battle. The change wasn't instant, but it was different than her previous attempts. Instead of fighting cravings, she began losing interest in drinking. Instead of avoiding situations, she found herself naturally choosing activities that didn't involve alcohol. 6 months later, she realized she hadn't thought about drinking in weeks. The desire had simply dissolved. Each of these people succeeded because they followed all 5 rules consistently. They spoke new words, imagined new outcomes, maintained faith in the process, took aligned actions, and surrendered the timing to higher wisdom. Now we come to the heart of today's teaching, the truth your thumbnail reveals. The real game is not you against the world, it's you against you. Look in the mirror right now, not physically, but mentally. See yourself clearly. There are 2 voices in your head, aren't there? One voice says, "I can change, I can grow, I can create something better." This is the voice that brought you to this teaching, the voice that recognizes possibility. The other voice says, "Nothing ever works. I've tried before. This is just more false hope." This is the voice that's been running your life, making your decisions, choosing your words. Florence understood that this internal conflict is the only real battle. Not you versus circumstances, not you versus other people, not you versus fate. You versus the version of you that's addicted to limitation. Here's what most people don't realize: that limiting voice isn't trying to hurt you. It's trying to protect you. It believes that if you don't expect good things, you won't be disappointed. If you don't try, you can't fail. If you don't hope, you can't be heartbroken. But here's what that voice doesn't understand. Playing not to lose is still losing. When you speak words of limitation to protect yourself from disappointment, you guarantee disappointment. When you imagine worst-case scenarios to prepare for them, you attract them. When you act from fear to stay safe, you create exactly the unsafe situations you're trying to avoid. The game of life rewards the player who chooses growth over safety, possibility over protection, faith over fear. But you must choose. Every morning, every moment, every decision, you must choose which voice gets to be in control. The voice that says "I can't," or the voice that says "I'm learning how." The voice that says it won't work, or the voice that says "I'm willing to try." The voice that says "I'm not enough," or the voice that says "I'm becoming who I need to be." This is the real game. This is why most people lose. They let the fearful voice run the show, while the hopeful voice gets relegated to occasional daydreaming. Florence's greatest insight was this: you can change which voice is in charge. You can train yourself to think, speak, and act from your highest possibility instead of your deepest fear. But it requires practice, daily, consistent, committed practice. My friend, you've heard the rules. You understand the game. You know the practice. Now comes the moment of truth. What are you going to do with this knowledge? You can close this video and return to the same thoughts, the same words, the same actions that have created your current circumstances. You can let the skeptical voice convince you that this is too simple, too good to be true, too spiritual for practical life. Or you can decide that perhaps, just perhaps, a woman who lived a century ago discovered something real about how consciousness creates experience. You can decide to experiment with these principles for 30 days and see what happens. You can decide to stop playing the game wrong. Here are the 5 rules one more time. 1. Use your words to create, not just describe. 2. Direct your imagination toward your desired outcomes. 3. Maintain faith in the process, even when evidence is lacking. 4. Take actions that align with your words and visions. 5. Surrender the timing and method to wisdom greater than your own. This isn't about perfection. You'll forget sometimes. You'll doubt sometimes. You'll slip back into old patterns sometimes. That's not failure. That's learning. The game isn't won by never making mistakes. It's won by making new mistakes instead of the same old ones. Florence would remind us, the game of life is the game of boomerangs. Our thoughts, deeds, and words return to us sooner or later with astounding accuracy. So choose your thoughts wisely, choose your words carefully, choose your actions deliberately, and remember, the person you're becoming is more important than the person you've been. You came here because something in you knows there's a better way to live. Trust that knowing. Follow that knowing. Let that knowing guide you into the life you've been imagining, but afraid to claim. The game is waiting. The rules are clear. The only question is, are you ready to stop playing it wrong? Begin today. Begin right now. Speak one new word. Imagine one new possibility. Take one new action and watch as the universe begins to respond to the player you're becoming instead of the player you've been. Under grace, in perfect ways, your transformation begins now. Until we meet again in the next ancient cipher, remember, you are not a victim of circumstances. You are a player in the game of life, and now you know how to win.